Welcome back to another episode of CoinSchedule's sponsored Spotlight series. So James, thank you very much for giving me your time. How are you getting on in the States?
I'm good, thank you.
Good. So you contacted me about GenesisONE token and said you're interested in having a podcast to just basically discuss it and explain it to everybody. So before you do that, can you just say who you are and where you've come from and how you got into crypto?
Okay, essentially my name is James Edward. I am the president and CEO of EG Group Holdings, which is the company that's running the underlying platform for GenesisONE. Essentially, my background is in finance. I was with American Express Financial Advisors for a while, and about 15, 16 years ago. And I've dealt with different sectors in investments and provided clients with different vehicles for saving, retirement planning, estate planning, insurance products, mortgages. And from there, that gave me a basic background and underlying understanding of what individual people need at different points of their lives and so forth. And then from there, I went into business for myself and ran a consulting business and helped people with different aspects of their business development and so forth. And I found that it was a pretty good niche that I liked. And from there, we went into the Caribbean and had a number of different interests in different companies in terms of distribution of food commodities, bulk food commodities in terms of rice, sugar, flour, edible oils, beans, so forth. And we had companies in Jamaica, Dominican Republic, Haiti, and Guyana. And we also had some mining concerns in Guyana as well. And then going into crypto, studying the market since about 2012 or so, I came to understand and had some investments in Bitcoin, went with the roller coaster ride. And I started to think about a year ago, I started to think about ways to marry finance and cryptocurrency market and to marry it also with some of the other stuff that I was doing. Because going back to the trade and so forth in food commodities, one of the problems that a lot of companies do have is the fact that major banks are having issue with providing trade facilitation. And whether it be a SBLC, a BG, or any type of letter of credit, some banks, especially in the United States, are pulling back from that. Some of the major ones like Chase and so forth. So I thought about that, and that's when I thought about GenesisONE. I came to the conclusion. We came with a couple of other partners of ours, and we sat down and we discussed it, and we came up with different solutions. And that's where we are. So that's the advent of it.
Great, that sounds like it's a good story. And if you had to give me an elevator pitch, like the 90-second summary of what GenesisONE token is and why it's important, could you just do that for me?
Sure. In essence, GenesisONE provides investors with value. We like to call them members. We bring them on as members, just like Facebook, for instance. And as a member, it allows you to be able to invest in different projects that we thereby go into. So, for instance, the cyber lottery, we're talking about doing a global lottery system through our affiliates, where we have boots on the ground, people in different countries and so forth, whereby you can come in, if you don't have internet service, go ahead and purchase the token from them and therefore purchase entry into the drawing. And that provides, because one of the things that everyone almost religiously worldwide share in common is a love for games of chance, whether it be lotteries or casino, whatever. So in essence, we feel that's the initial foray that we can use GenesisONE into, and then from there develop it and scale forward into the other things that we're talking about.
Great. And what are some of the other things you're talking about after the lottery?
In essence, after the lottery, we're looking into the global sports betting, which will allow, it's global sports betting franchise, which will allow people all over the world to be able to use GenesisONE, the platform itself, in order to bet on different games. Use the underlying token to go ahead and bet on whether it be the Toronto Raptors and the Philadelphia Sixers game yesterday, or a game in Liverpool, okay? Or cricket in India. Whatever that local regional, I guess, fan base wants to go ahead and purchase or wager a bet in, we'd like to be the forum in order for them to do so. And by, uh, I guess, utilizing the global pool, it offers a better base, more or less, in order to enhance your winnings. There's more volume.
Right, so you think if there's more people involved in the platform from more people around the world, then that's going to make it a better betting, like a more efficient betting platform with better opportunities and better odds. Okay, cool. So this is generally like it's a blockchain for gaming and a blockchain for betting and that kind of thing. Is that correct? Just so I can.
Initially, that is our core, and that allows to build our subscriber base, really. And because we were looking at regional numbers all across the world, and we think that this is something definitely that a lot of people would get involved in because of the mere fact that you don't need the internet. Because if you don't have a smartphone, you don't have the internet, uh, our global affiliates will allow you to go into, like, for instance, any store that is an authorized agent for Western Union or MoneyGram.
Mm-hmm.
Use them as an affiliate, and they who have the internet can go sign up, create the account for the member, and then from there, let them wager.
Right. Okay.
It
Cool.
becomes like a global Powerball.
And where would you? What? So that's phase one. So the phase one is the gaming side of things, and then the phases after that. What other kind of functionality do you want to integrate?
Okay, essentially, we looked at also the fact that worldwide, it's projected that by, I think, 2030, there's supposed to be a need for over 250,000 pilots, airline pilots. And those pilots, every 6 months, need training, simulator, flight time training in a simulator. And we looked at the regional markets in the United States as well as in Europe. And there is a backlog of getting simulator time and availability for the airlines. So we looked into doing 5 regional centers across the world, whereby we build the infrastructure, we put in the simulators, and we contract as we're building with the airlines in order to get them to utilize our services and get their pilots in. Usually what happens is they block off a simulator for their own service, for their own purposes, for their pilots for a year at a time. So we would then be able to use that and scale further upwards and grow more and gain more simulators and so forth. So the electronic simulators that we're looking at between Siemens, Honeywell, and GE.
Cool.
GE. Sorry.
Sorry, carry on. Sorry, if you've got more, please do say.
Okay. Essentially, we do have a number of pilots that I've spoken to, people who are instructors and have worked as instructors here in the U.S. And we've also talked about the opportunity of either getting European authorities or FAA authorities here in the United States to sanction, or at least, well, we do realize that in order for them to give us a license or ride under the license of another company here in the United States in order to do flight training for people outside of the U.S., we'd have to create an office there for them as well. And in essence, that's like essentially just like when you go to the Bahamas or whatever other country, you see like the U.S. has a customs office there, and you can check your custom, you can go through customs and immigration right there in the host country, something like that.
Okay, cool. So there's a lot of different features then. And what stage of development are you up to at the moment, or is this all based in theory? Or have you been able to develop any of this?
In essence, for certain aspects, we're in developing the app right now. Okay. And the basis of launching at this moment in time is essentially to bring on members and to test our theory. Essentially test our theory, because this coming in, we're offering opportunities whereby the earlier someone subscribes, becomes a member, they're gaining more value by gaining more GenesisONE tokens before the main listing, the main launch after the ICO. So in essence, for instance, for each token purchased today, in essence, for each dollar purchased, you get 8 Genesis tokens. And during the ICO, it'll go down to 5 and so forth until it's a one-to-one par.
Okay, and so for after the ICO, what's the roadmap? Like, when are you going to have a minimal viable product? When are you going to have a blockchain functioning? What's your milestones looking like?
Okay, by our projections, we'll be able, with this preliminary pre-ICO, what we'll be able to do is bring on the talent that's needed in order to move forward, the designers, the engineers, the coders, in order to move forward with the main app for the main system, back office systems as well, for the global lottery. Once we have that into place, pretty much everything else is staggered in terms of timeline of how we can proceed. So what we plan to do is every quarter or so have a newsletter that allows every member to know exactly where we are, where we stand, how we've progressed from last quarter, and in essence, what value that they derive from that. Because for every project that a member more or less uses GenesisONE's tokens to invest in, they're going to derive dividends from that. As the revenues of that particular project come in and there are sufficient profits to cover everything, they will derive their value from that. So they'll have some sort of a shareholder stake.
Right,
without
okay.
actually being an equity holder.
Yeah, yeah. And just thinking about the competition out there, who is the greatest competition that you face, and what value do you offer that is more, is better than their value proposition?
Um, for instance, with the cyber lottery, our main competitors would be here in the United States, where they're the actual states and states that group together, like Georgia, I think North Carolina and Florida, and the New England states came together, and they have the Powerball. Those are our main competitors for that. However, we essentially differentiate ourselves is that we're offering a global offering, not just a regional offering. So, for instance, I do know like when the New England states have their Powerball lottery at a couple $100 million, people are scammering here in the Southeast in order to try to participate, but there's no real online way for them to do so. What we're offering is an online way for everyone to be able to participate all over the world, which greatly increases the odds of someone actually gaining the possibility of getting the big Powerball.
Is there any other blockchain-powered lottery services out there?
There is one, and we've been monitoring them. There's one here in the United States. Um, I'm not too sure what are their possibilities of growth at this point in time because I see that they haven't expanded. I don't know if it's their marketing. I did see a great marketing campaign earlier in the year, but at this point in time, the buzz about them is pretty low. Don't want to mention them at this point in time, but I think you can definitely come in and capture a lot of the market share by doing it the way we're talking about doing it.
Okay, fair enough. And on the technology side, are you planning on building your own blockchain from the ground up? Are you planning on forking from Ethereum or some of the rival platform? Like, how is that going to work?
We're definitely going to use an underlying base in Ethereum. And as we grow, because one of the things that we're talking about doing is initiating terms of security protocols, whereby let's say that you go ahead and you buy the GenesisONE token, but you're hacked. With two-factor authentication, what we're trying to do is utilize a way whereby your security tokens your basic underlying tokens are safe from hacking or from theft or from anything of that nature, because what happens is the last series of numbers in the code is personally known, it would act as your password. So if someone was to hack your system or hack our systems, if we act as custodian for your tokens, those tokens would in essence be safe and easily replaced.
So am I right in saying that this is going to be a dApp on top of Ethereum, or do you want to create your own Ethereum-based blockchain?
For right now, it's going to have to be like a dApp on top of Ethereum.
Right.
And as we scale, we'll be able to grow our own.
Right, okay, cool. And so my final question to you is, where would you want this to be in 5 years, ideally?
Ideally, what I see in 5 years is the cyber lottery is going really well. Sports betting is going really well. The airline as well. The simulator training, which would take about 22 months for it to lay the groundwork and get everything in motion. What I see is we're going into our banking platform and facilitating different vendors, suppliers, and buyers worldwide with trade facilitation.
Right, well, I wish you the best. So what was that, sorry?
No, I'm saying I think that's a perfect symbiosis with everything that I've learned, experienced, and we can go ahead and put out there as a product.
Right, well, I wish you good luck with everything.
Thank you, Anthony.
Thanks for the interview.
No, thank you very much.
Thank you. Goodbye. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel and share this video with your friends.